I'm joined now by one of those senators, Republican Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, who serves on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, what's your assessment right now of what's happening in Syria after the toppling of Bashar al-Assad and his fleeing to Russia? Is there any understanding of who's in charge of Syria, and how do you think the U.S. should be responding?
I think the U.S. right now certainly is and should be continuing to communicate with various leaders on the ground to help get to a point where we do know how to work with. And certainly the goal overall is to ensure that stability ensues there. Israel, our allies in the region, should take the lead. The U.S. should be supportive. I certainly don't think we need to be entering and getting involved directly, but I do think that this is something that we should be watching extremely closely, because the last thing we want, Jake, is to see Assad's chemical weapons, to see any of the terrorist groups that are there in any way get into a position where they could actually hurt America here in the homeland.
Former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard, who was a Democratic Congresswoman from Hawaii, although now she's a Republican. She is Mr. Trump's pick to be the Director of National Intelligence. She was meeting with senators today. Back in 2017, she made a controversial and secret visit to Syria, where she met with Assad. After she came back, she came on this show, came on the lead to discuss that trip. Let me just roll some of what she told me back then.
The Syrian people recognize and they know that if President Assad is overthrown, then al-Qaeda or a group like al-Qaeda that has been killing Christians, killing people simply because of their religion or because they won't support their terror activities, they will take charge of all of Syria. This is the reality that the people of Syria are facing on the ground, and why they are pleading with us here in the United States to stop supporting these terrorist groups. Let the Syrian people themselves determine their future.
Congresswoman Gabbard at the time also expressed skepticism that it was Assad who actually gassed his own people, which I think is the U.S. government is fairly certain what happened. Are you hearing any concerns from other Republican senators about Congresswoman Gabbard serving as DNI?
Well, I certainly am aware of the discussions that you're talking about right now in terms of what she said back in 2017. But Congresswoman Gabbard is a decorated veteran. Has been a wonderful member of the military. President Trump has hired her for a very specific job. He's in the process of doing that. And she's actually raised questions with respect to the intelligence community, I think, that need to be asked, that need to be delivered upon. Also, Tulsi represents a broadening of the tent, if you will, bringing in people from a variety of backgrounds. President Trump won the election by broadening the tent. I'm pleased to see her do this, and I think she's going to move through the process. I think she'll make good progress. And at the end of the day, President Trump's policies are what's going to drive this administration, and Tulsi Gabbard should be a loyal member of his cabinet and follow those policies.
So no concerns at all, or you're hearing them, but those discussions will be part of the process?
I think the discussions will be part of the process. I have heard about that, but I've not heard concerns, Jake, as you would lay that out. I'm not hearing concerns that that's going to be in any way something that would jeopardize her capability of getting through the process with Republicans.
Let me ask you about Kash Patel, Trump's pick to head the FBI, also on the Hill today, also meeting with senators. He has made a number of controversial statements in the past, some of them on forums that seem questionable. There was a show he hosted called Kash's Corner for the Epoch Times, an organization known for pushing conspiracy theories. Here's a little excerpt.
We showed the corruption of the FBI's confidential human source program to cover up the FBI's corruption. We showed its lies to the FISA court, and we basically dismantled the biggest criminal syndicate operated from within the FBI by the likes of James Comey and company.
So, criticizing the FBI, totally legitimate, and disrupting the FBI and the Justice Department. I get it. I understand it. I'm not criticizing that. But calling the FBI the biggest criminal syndicate operating from within the FBI, or saying that the biggest criminal syndicate operated from within the FBI by the likes of James Comey and company, does that give you a moment of pause at all?
Well, I'm not familiar with the context of this discussion that you just showed, but I'll say this. I think Kash is, in every sense, right to be calling out the team there at the FBI that back in 2016 used a Clinton fabricated dossier as an excuse to come and spy on the Trump campaign. The whole context and pretext for this Russia thing that hampered the Trump campaign for the first several years of his administration, all of this emanated from the FBI. All of it needs to be cleaned up. And even if you look forward to 2020, the FBI collaborated with Tony Blinken and the so-called 51 intelligence experts to hide Hunter Biden's Hunter Biden's laptop. They went out and front ran that story to major social media organizations to basically say it's going to be Russian disinformation. FBI was complicit in this. There really is a lot that needs to be cleaned up, Jake, and Cash is very much focused on this.
Senator Bill Hagerty of Tennessee, thank you so much, sir. Always good to have you on.
Good to be with you, too.